Yo, what up, a-holes? Thank you for tuning into the Holistic A-Hole podcast. My name is Erik Levi, and I'm the Holistic A-Hole, the mommy blogger with balls, the inconvenient truth of health. What's up, y'all? Thanks for tuning in here to the latest episode of the podcast where we're going to talk about soda pop, sody pop, and if it is actually right to try to tax soda and make money off the backs of hard-working, soda-drinking Americans. That's what we're going to talk about today, because I got some thoughts on it, and I feel like it's one of those things that we were talking a lot about a couple of years ago, and then we just don't talk about it anymore. Especially here in New York. It was a huge deal for a little while here in New York. And now not so much, man. Things are a-changing. So we're going to get into all that. But before we do, I want to say what's up and just give you a reminder there. If you're new to the podcast, please hit the subscribe button. That way you'll be notified, or you'll see this podcast pop up in your podcast feed every time it's released, usually Tuesday and Thursday, twice a week at the very least. Sometimes I'll toss in a little bonus there. Sometimes the podcast will come out on a Monday. Sometimes it's a Friday, but usually it's Tuesday and Thursday. And make sure you go hit up all the Holistic A-Hole socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all Holistic A-Hole, and then the Holistic A-Hole YouTube page, and just keep track, y'all. So we're talking about soda here. So the reason I bring this up is because I just finished reading Marion Nestle's book, Soda Politics. And if you don't know Marion Nestle, she's basically, I guess you could say, a food activist. She's a former, I believe, researcher. She worked for the FDA. I believe the FDA, definitely not the USDA. I believe it was the FDA. And she was I don't know if she was a researcher. She's written some pretty seminal papers while she worked there. Some pretty important stuff as far as like regulations, and she knows her shit. But now I believe she focuses most of her attention on food politics and writing about this exciting subject. And I'll be honest, I actually do think it's exciting, the politics of food, because that's what food has become. That's what everything that we put in our mouths has become. It's become an issue of politics. You know, the government is just in our business when it comes to food, 100% to a fault, because this is getting into this kind of libertarian argument, which is we want to have regulations on this food so that these food companies don't, just flat out poison us. And so they write these farm bills and these different acts and these different things that they think are going to regulate the food industry to keep them from poisoning us. But really, I think all it does is just make the food companies poison us even more. It's like death by over regulation, right? Because basically what they do is they pass these bills and they become law, but in the bills are all these loopholes, and the loopholes are things like how do we define what is organic and what's not organic? That's probably the easiest example. It's like, just because it says organic, what does that really mean? I don't think anybody really knows what that means, what organic even is, because it's like, yeah, something can be organic, something can be grown from, an organic seed that hasn't been genetically modified. The crops can be raised in a field that isn't sprayed, but more times than not, a lot of those organic farms, unless it's like, a farm like on its own plot of land in the middle of nowhere, which there are a lot of those, and you usually find those at the farmer's market. But, when you walk around like the grocery store and it says organic, chances are the seed that made that crop, that made that food, was probably grown on a farm or a plot of land right next to an inorganic farm. And I'm not about to get into, organic chemistry, or biology or any of that stuff, because I'm not qualified to talk about it. But basically, I don't think it takes, a master's degree in chemistry to know that the soil from the farm, the inorganic farm that's right next to the organic farm, those chemicals are going to seep in to the soil of the organic farm, right? The wind. I have a buddy who works for the who's actually works for, I don't know what food company it is, but he basically works in the packaging. And making sure there's no like metal in your soup, and making sure there's no razor blades in your, salad, prepackaged salad greens or whatever, But basically what he says is like when it comes to organic versus inorganic, it's like the wind blows. So if you have a field of genetically modified wheat next to a field of organic wheat, the wind's going to blow and it's going to throw all those inorganic seeds, genetically modified seeds, into the organic field. And just imagine that this has been going on for years. Long story short, the definition of organic is so just not accurate as to what's happening in the real world right now. Same thing with like the label of free range. The same thing goes for even like maybe even grass fed, because like I know at least the definition of free range doesn't mean like the chickens are like in a giant field, like running around and, doing hopscotch and, playing dominoes or whatever free range chickens do. They're basically in the same coop or the same chicken house or whatever you grow chickens in. They're stuffed to the brim. They're like literally on top of each other. Shit is coming out of one chicken's butt onto another chicken's face. They have no room whatsoever. They're just fattened up with all of these hormones and, and different genetically modified feed. But basically, like the definition of free range means the farmers, the quote unquote farmers, have to open a door to the chicken coop, for like 20 minutes a day, and then they close it. And that basically, with that loophole in just a 1,000-page farm bill, that's like one little line there. And nobody reads it. Nobody knows it's there until they make a documentary and put it on Netflix, and it causes an uproar, and they say they're going to change it, and they never do. And so we're left with this kind of muddy definition of what free range means. And basically what it means is that the chickens get a nice cool breeze of air coming through a door or a window for 20 minutes every day. Otherwise, it's the same. It's all the same shit, right? So basically, I got kind of off on this trail here to say that I believe food politics is incredibly important. And if you agree, you should probably start reading Mary Nestle, because she's probably like the person who's writing about this. Again, she knows a lot. She's got doctorate degrees and she's worked for the FDA. This is like her thing, right? So she wrote this book, Soda Politics, to talk about the corruption of the soda industry. And believe it or not, there is a political ramification, because soda is very tightly wound into our government. Again, I don't think I'm blowing anybody's minds here or presenting any kind of controversial or new information. In fact, you could just go on to opensecrets.org and see for yourself all of the money that Coca-Cola and Pepsi and these big soda companies, those are really the two biggest, how much they're paying people in our government to play ball. They're paying people in our government to pass laws, that directly affect their bottom line. And it's not laws like, should it be illegal or legal? Should it be legal or illegal to drink soda? It's nothing like that, right? It's their laws like, should we be taxing? Should we be charging these companies more for doing something like, for instance, using our taxpayer-funded water to make their products, right? Because basically what these soda companies do is they franchise out the distribution of their products. I know, a couple big words there. A couple big words. I took my ginkgo biloba this morning, so my brain is functioning well, I think. Methinks. So basically what the soda companies do is their patent, their product is on the syrup of the soda that they sell. Whatever that recipe is of Coca-Cola or of Pepsi or of Dr. Pepper or whatever it is, right? They own the patent to that recipe. But then the other part of it is the water. These sodas, even though you don't think about it when you drink it. I mean, these things are like 80% water. So 80% of the recipe to make soda is funded by fucking taxpayers. You, the listener, are paying to have Coke produced, and then they're selling it right back to you. Isn't that, just like think about that for a second, And so like what these soda companies do is they lobby and they press anytime that, some kind of do-gooding congressman or senator proposes a bill and he's like, we believe that the soda companies should pay for their own water or should pay higher taxes or tariffs or whatever it is so that they can contribute into what they're essentially taking out of the government or taking out of the population's water supply, and then completely repolluting the areas, right? Because there's the pollution of production of actually producing the stuff. There's the pollution of the shipping of all of the soda all around the world, right? Those trucks, they're running off of fossil fuels. And then, you have the pollution of the garbage of the shit, right? It's like, how many times have we seen that picture of whatever bird that is a seagull with the six-pack soda can plastic thingy around its neck, right? So, the soda companies really do abuse our natural resources in order to make a product that both A, poisons us, and B, poisons the environment, right? So they've got their tentacles, wrapped fucking firmly around government. Not to mention, all the health problems that come out of these drinks, which have been proven in studies over and over and over and over again. These guys are also spending money on their own studies. You might read a study and it might not explicitly say that this study was paid for by Coca-Cola, but the study was probably paid for by some soda company front group, like, for instance, the American Beverage Association. There's a number of them, that get formed. So, and they get paid for by the soda companies to represent the soda companies. So Coca-Cola doesn't have to, come out and say, we don't think that soda harms people. It's the American Beverage Association that comes out and says, we don't think that soda harms people, and this is, just industry wide. And when I'm saying soda, I should really take a step back and say, it's not just soda that's the problem. It's really sugary drinks, okay? So this is sodas, right? This is the Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Sprite, all that stuff, right? Then you also have these quote unquote fruit juices, and people will be like, what's wrong with fruit juice? Well, look at the sugar content of a fruit juice, of a prepackaged, processed fruit juice that comes from someone like Dole or Dannon or even Coca-Cola or Pepsi, fucking apple juice, grape juice, orange juice. These things are just loaded with sugar. Sometimes, actually, I think almost every time, these sugary fruit juices have more sugar in them than a Coke or a Pepsi, right? Same thing goes for something like Gatorade. These different sports drinks also loaded with sugar. Even if they're sugar-free, they have some kind of sweetener in them that is, for the most part, toxic, okay? And then I know you can be like, what about Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi? That shit has aspartame, right? They make it with these NutraSweet, these artificial sweeteners that are even more toxic to your body than regular sugar. By the way, the reason people love Mexican Coke more than they do regular Coke is because Mexican Coke, I don't know if they still do, but for a long time, they actually still used cane sugar, right? The soda companies haven't used cane sugar, I think, for like 40 or 50 years here in America. They started using this, this processed high fructose corn syrup, That's another thing. Oh, man, we're just going all over the place here. But soda, the what happens to soda doesn't just affect soda companies. it affects the whole supply chain, right? So high fructose corn syrup. You better believe the corn lobby is against any kind of legislation put forth against the soda companies, because if the soda companies go down, the corn lobby loses one of its biggest customers, okay? Because all these sodas we're drinking are just freaking loaded with high fructose corn syrup, So as if the corn lobby didn't have its tentacles around our government enough, considering there's high fructose corn syrup in almost every single thing you eat or drink now. You also have to worry about the fact that they have a huge stake in what happens to the soda. So they're going to go with the American Beverage Association, and they're going to be like, do everything you can to make sure that there is no legislation put forth by our government to lower the consumption of sugary beverages. So, there's all these activist groups that want to figure out a way to get people to stop consuming sugary drinks, right? I mean, you have these groups basically exposing all of the science that shows that, these sugary drinks, they add to obesity, they add to diabetes, they add to, all these just basically numbers that contribute to our public health crisis. And the soda companies, their defense is like, no, it's not the sugary drink that's making people fat, and then they'll throw out some study that it's like, no, look, it's like saturated fat has a higher, obesity rate than something like sugar. People who eat sugar, they'll do all this stuff where they're like, it's not about the sugar or the high fructose corn syrup. It's about the calories, right? The calories in, calories out. So Coca-Cola's actually said this. They're like, Coca-Cola can be a part of a nutritionally balanced lifestyle, that involves good food and movement. They're like, as long as you have a calorie deficit, as long as you are burning more calories than you're taking in, soda can totally just be a part of that lifestyle. Because all these fitness models and all of these, I shouldn't say elite athletes, because there are fucking elite athletes that do drink Coke. That's why they're elite athletes, because it's like nothing can faze them. I think I remember hearing when LeBron James, like when he was a rookie or his first couple years, the guy was only like 18, 19 years old. That dude was eating freaking Big Macs before games and during games. Like that's an elite athlete. If I eat a Big Mac right now, dude, you won't see me or hear from me for a week. Okay, I'm just going to be in bed, just fucking a pure fluid diet. An elite athlete like LeBron James, that dude can house like 3 or 4 Big Macs and go out and put up 50 points against the Warriors, So, but this is the junk science or the anomaly science that the Food and Beverage Association or the American Beverage Association will take to court and be like, look, you can't prove that Coke is making people fat. And maybe you're right. Maybe you can't. But it's definitely not making people healthy. It's definitely a detriment to your diet. If you drink a soda, a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi or a Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, you're literally drinking cardboard. You're literally drinking something that has zero nutritional value. You can't even count the water. This is what the soda companies will do. Like the soda companies will say, "Oh, well, a Coke has 80% of it's made from water, so it's hydration. We're a hydration company. So when you drink a soda, if you're thirsty and you need soda and your stomach's backed up, you haven't pooped in a couple days, you start feeling sick, just chug a Coke." Because you're missing hydration. That's the only thing you're missing. Just drink a Coke. Drink a couple Cokes, because, they say you should drink like a gallon of water a day. So just drink like a gallon of soda or drink like 80% of a gallon of soda, because that's going to pretty much be your, does that make sense? No, it should be like 120, like 1.2 gallons of soda would make a gallon of water. I can't do that math. But you know what I'm saying, right? This is what this is the arguments they say, and this is the shit that gets by in court. And this is why we still have a problem with soda, because soda's not just sitting back, just waiting to see what happens. They know that people want to take them down. You know, they see the signs. This is like tobacco. This is a playbook, and this is what all the food industry does. Whether it's the sodas, the sugar, the meat and dairy people, the corn people, they all take a page out of the tobacco playbook, and they're like, look, you could say that there's all this science, but there's all this other quote unquote science that was definitely funded by people who have interest in making sure that this never gets made illegal or made more expensive. And they just put it out there, and they play you for being dumb. And then they pay off, these government officials. They pay off freaking senators. They pay off congressmen. They pay off city councilmen. They pay off mayors and governors. They pay off fucking Supreme Court people and judges. And it's all there in open secrets. You can see all this stuff. And this is how they keep soda in your mouth. This is how they keep soda in your body. So a couple years ago, what was it, 2010? Mayor Michael Bloomberg of New York City proposed to cap soda. Okay, so he wanted to cap soda, and I believe he wanted a soda tax. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I know for sure he wanted to cap soda in New York City at 16 ounces. He wanted to say, here in New York City, we will not allow people, or I shouldn't say that, but we will not allow restaurants to sell sodas or sugary drinks over 16 ounces. And I remember, because this is when I moved to New York, when that was like in the heat of the battle, 2012. And there was a lot of people who were against it. I never really understood why, but there was a lot of people that were for it. And of course, you could probably just name the players of people who were against it. Probably a lot of conservatives. Definitely the soda industry, of course, the food and beverage industry. But here's the sneaky thing that, or let me take a step back. You have people like the mayor in New York and people who were for this bill saying that you should tax soda because here's all the science on soda and, here's all the science on economics. And if we make it more expensive, less people are going to drink, or if we keep the ability of people from being able to buy this stuff, then people are going to obviously drink less soda. The city's going to get much healthier. People in the city are going to get much healthier, and then of course this just trickles down to all the other stuff, right? People spending less on healthcare, less wait times at the hospital, people spending less money on pharmaceuticals, people's blood pressure and sugar and all this stuff's going to go down. You're supposed to be healthier. Now, if you drink less soda, yes, you're going to be healthier. But is it the government's place to do that? And I have a lot of leaning towards libertarianism. I have a lot of conservative leanings. I also have a lot of liberal leanings. I'm really just kind of like, I'm not associated with a party. I'm just like, give me the issue. What's your stance on or what's my own stance on the issue? I'm not worried about what, some fucking senator's stance on an issue is or what a governor's stance on. I want to basically come to my own conclusion. So I'm a little all over the map when it comes to politics. But if you're a regular listener of the show, you could probably guess I lean maybe more towards the conservative and maybe more towards the libertarian than I do liberal. That's just from getting older. You just learn this. Some of this shit just can't be free. You can't just tax everybody to death to make money to pay for shit because where are you gonna have money? Who wants to pay taxes? And the government can't even spend it right. Say what you want about Donald Trump, but the one thing he nails out of the park is the government is not a good employee. Private citizens can make shit happen better and cheaper than the government can. But is it the government's job to come in and say something like, we are not going to allow people to buy sodas over 16 ounces? I think you also have to look at the fact that, what is soda, right? What is a sugary drink? It's a completely nutrient deficient, nutritionally empty food that you put in your body. You're taking calories that have zero nutritional value. Again, you might as well just be eating, a slice of cardboard or something. Does the same thing. If nothing else, it's not just nutritionally empty, but it does harm to your body, right? You look at all the studies on the sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, the phosphoric acid, even the poor water quality, because who knows where the water is even coming from? Some of these municipal services are polluted themselves. So there's obviously a lot that goes against soda. So is it the government's job to keep the soda out of our hands, or is it our job to keep the soda out of our hands? I'll tell you from my perspective, it's your job as a consumer to keep the soda out of your hands. It's your job to educate yourself, to say, okay, I'm overweight, or I'm out of shape, or I have diabetes, or my health is really bad, so what should I not do? I should not drink soda. There's enough resources out there to show you all the reasons why soda is harming your health. But the fact is, people don't think like that. Definitely not in the 21st century. We want to believe that people do, but most people don't. Us holistic a-holes, we do, because we're smart, because we're better than everybody, because we read nutrition facts. We understand the difference between carbs and fat and protein and what nutrients are and why they affect our body. Like, we know what that stuff is, but the average person does not. In fact, the average person is so ignorant to this stuff that if their favorite athlete is just on a billboard drinking a soda, if Derek Jeter, for instance, is on a billboard drinking a Coke, people are going to go buy Coke. If LeBron James is on a billboard drinking a Pepsi, people are going to go drink Pepsi. If a TV show comes out and, they're sitting around a table and they're all drinking soda, and you see clearly that the can on the soda next to the glass with ice in it that also looks so delicious says Coca-Cola, people are going to run out and go get Coca-Cola. If you go to the movie theaters and there's a giant advertisement before the movie starts that says don't forget to fill up on your big fucking drink, you're going to run out to the hall and go get that big fucking drink. Because this is the way that advertisement works. This is just human psychology. This is why sodas sell billions of dollars worth of stuff every single year. Because the fact is, even though probably half the people who were drinking soda at one time said to themselves, I'm going on a diet, I'm going to lose weight, I'm not happy where I'm at in life, and I want to get in better shape, and I want to look better, and I want to feel better, and I'm tired of being on medication. Maybe they've all said that, but the fact is that they're not consciously making the effort to do it. They're so inundated by soda company and food company advertising that they're essentially helpless. This is provocative, that what these companies do. I want to believe that people can make the decision to say, okay, well, if I'm going to drink a soda, it's only going to be an 8-ounce or a 12-ounce soda. I want to believe that. But the fact is, I grew up in Arizona. And if you ever go to a gas station in Arizona, and there are a lot of gas stations, many of those gas stations, by the way, are not like your standard, kind of like gas station, get in and get out, maybe convenience store with like pick up a pack of gum. No, they're fucking full on grocery stores now. And if you go into those gas stations and see what a soda fountain at one of those places look like, I mean, dude, you would think you walked into fucking Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, because, I mean, just the selection of soda that you have there. First off, you have multiple fountains. Let's not forget the icy Slurpee stations as well, next to just the constant revolving hot dogs. Okay, and those drinks, right? I grew up with this, okay? Those cup sizes go to 44 ounces. They go to 64 ounces. They go to, I believe, 84 ounces. I mean, in the last 10 years, I mean, there are cups that are literally the size of buckets. Fucking buckets. You ever see a little kid, building sandcastles on the beach and they got a bucket? That's what a soda cup looks like now at many gas stations here in America. Definitely in the Southwest, where everybody has a big truck and a big house and a big waist and a big neck, and, they just make bigger kids and everything's big, 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 including the soda cups and the soda cup holders in the big trucks and SUVs, okay? There's a reason why they have soda cup holders now that can hold like 64-ounce cups, because that's the norm now, It's not like that's like, whoa, that's like a special occasion, big size. We're going to, let a couple people drink out of this. No, this is like one person's drink every single day. Those are refillable cups too. So they give them the incentive not just to go in, drink it, throw the cup away. No, that cup is sitting in their cup holder. And every time they need to get a soda refill, they can refill that puppy. And people refill those cups all throughout the day. I mean, there's people literally drinking, I was joking about it, but people are literally drinking gallons of soda every single day. But why would they, right? Why would they? Because there's a good chance at some point, one of those people who has one of those monster soda cups probably said to themselves, man, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going on a diet. I'm going to try this whole keto thing. I'm going to try waking up and running every morning. And maybe some of them do. But then they go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're like borderline pre-diabetic. Yeah, but doc, I wake up and I run every day. I go to the gym. Yeah, but your blood sugar is well over 100. This is your resting blood glucose. You have all these inflammation markers. That tingling in the bottom of your foot, that's not a good sign right there. These varicose veins. All this stuff you're complaining about, the fact you can't get rid, you want to lose 20 pounds, but you can't ever seem to budge past a certain point. The fact that you're sleeping with a CPAP every night, you don't think those people at one point said, I want to stop sleeping with a CPAP, I want to lose weight. But then they go to the store and fill up a 64-ounce soda cup every single day before they go to work. This is what the psychology of all this is. So do we need a tax? Should we need a tax? We shouldn't need a tax. But the fact is, or a cap. But the fact is, we probably need one. Probably need one here in New York City, man. You probably need the government to step in, if the government cared, to say, we can't allow people to just be subjected to all of this manipulative advertising that comes from the soda companies. Soda companies are everywhere. They're in the football games. They're in the sports. They're in the TV. They're in the movie. They're literally everywhere. Like, you ever just drive down the road, you'll see a sign that says Coca-Cola. You'll see a sign that says Pepsi-Cola. That's not just because they're like, oh, this red goes good with the, with the side of the building here. They're like, no, because people will see that and they'll think to go get a Coke. It's just what it is, Same thing goes for the soda tax. I mean, I think the soda tax is great, right? I think if you're not going to cap it, then tax it. Say, look, if you're going to drink this stuff, same thing with cigarettes. Cigarettes are ridiculously expensive now. And now people think twice before they pick up and start smoking. I mean, it's had the effect. Lots of people don't smoke anymore because it's just too freaking expensive. And use those taxes, you hate to say it because the government doesn't know how to use its taxes, but use those taxes to fucking build playgrounds or whatever they want to do with taxes. Build a goddamn high-speed train, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? A high-speed electric train that goes completely across the United States, and stop wasting all this fuel on airplanes. Or whatever you use taxes for. Fucking build more bombs, bomb more fucking Syrians, or whatever you do with the bombs, right? This is a way to keep people from doing what they can't do, which is to control themselves when it comes to soda. The science is there. It's all right there. So that's my thoughts. I didn't even get into as much as I wanted to get in on the whole concept of taxing, or the fact that they had to do this in Mexico because Mexicans, the Mexican obesity rate obesity numbers were just ridiculous. I didn't even get into the fact that that sodas knowingly prey on minorities, right? They prey on the African American communities. They prey on the Hispanic American communities. have basically paid off all of these Hispanic groups. They've paid off the NAACP so that, when soda comes out against things like a soda tax, they have people in like the NAACP who will come out and say taxing soda is unfair to African Americans because this makes it more expensive for them and, makes them lose their jobs and, keeps them in poverty. This is a white supremacist law. And this is what soda does. They do the same thing for the Hispanics, for Hispanic people. So it just never ends, dude. And then if you want to think about it even more into this context, people are programmed like this. So this message has gone to the point where now this kind of prejudice is deep down in people's psyche. So if the government comes out and says anything like this, like we're going to tax soda. Well, the NAACP comes out and they say, well, taxing soda is unfair to black people because black people, don't have a lot of money and this is all they can afford. And people start getting up in arms and they start calling everybody racist. They're like, oh, you're racist because you want to impoverish more black people. You want black people to lose their jobs. More black people work for the soda companies and you're a racist. You're a white supremacist. You're a straight white male, blah, 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 blah. And now that programming is so deep inside people's psyches that it's almost like, how do you get around that? How do you get around that? How do you propose to people like, look, like this has nothing to do with race. This has everything to do with the fact that soda is literally killing people. You could tell me all you want that black people, are losing jobs and black people are spending too much money on groceries and this is just going to add another tax to the working class. Well, guess what is also happening? Black people have the highest rate of diabetes. They have the highest rate of these different coronary artery diseases. They have the highest rate of all these diseases that are caused by the sodas. So all we're trying to do as a soda tax advocate is say, no, we have to make it a priority to keep soda out of your hands and out of your fucking kids' hands, because that's the other thing. God, I'm gonna have to end this, but soda companies advertise knowingly to kids. They'll disguise it as they're not advertising to kids. They'll say, well, we're not advertising directly to kids. We're advertising on a YouTube channel that's watched by a lot of kids, but it's the age limit on this is over 12 years old, but there's like 7, 8, 9-year-old kids watching it. They can't regulate that stuff. So they go after the kids. They go after the minorities. I mean, they go after the wealthy class, but they know that the wealthier, more educated people just aren't drinking the sodas. It's just not in the demographics. So I would like to know what you think. I'm going to have to wrap this up because I can just keep going on and on and on about this. But do you think a soda tax or a soda cap is right? Let me know, because it's an interesting thing. Shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Holistic A-Hole on all of them. And if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you go on iTunes, leave me a 5-star review. And if you haven't caught up, go through and take some time and just do a little binging on the Holistic A-Hole podcast. Get caught up to what we're talking about and join the movement, the holistic movement. So thanks a lot for listening, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.